everybody to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima. I'm a life and love transformational coach and founder of Single and Stilettos. Today we have a very special guest, Patty Contenta, and she's a sensuality coach at sensualitysecrets.com. And I'm super excited to have her here today because today we're talking about how to be more desirable. And I know every woman out there, I know you're so desirable, but we want to turn it up a notch. So before we jump into that though, Patty, I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about you and how you became a sensuality coach.
Sure. Basically, I became more of a sensuality coach, if you will, through my ballroom dancing and Latin experience as I was a competitive dancer, a coach, teacher, still am for that matter, and spent many years bringing couples together and teaching single people also on how to non-verbally be very present within each other when they're dancing, so that ultimately, directly related to desire, how do you make the dancing experience ignite something and elicit something within them so that they're not just doing a dance step, that they're so fully present and experience this sense of desirability even more and ignite something between the two of them. So I decided to use those concepts in everyday life and created my online business.
Ah, that's awesome. Well, so how can women be even more desirable than they already are?
Than they already are. I think the first thing that women want to be able to do is be okay with owning uh, their desire. I think sometimes there's shame attached to that, and should we go there? And I really do think that part of the first step is to be okay with owning it and wanting it, because there's creativity and this turn on that happens when we allow ourselves to experience that. So one is own it and be okay with it first and foremost. And then after that, once we allow ourselves to say, I'm willing to own this, then I look at what are the different ways. And specifically, it's this idea of sensuality. So if I define sensuality, it's two-part. It's the ability to elevate the senses in any moment that you're in. And so you want to become the kind of person that pays attention to that and decides to live her life paying attention to that, because that ignites pleasure. And so you want to be the kind of person that enjoys pleasure, and pleasure is in the presence and in the moment, and that is through paying attention to the senses and allowing yourself to feel them fully. So that's one. And the second part is the ability to manage your sexual energy, which is a life force that is within us that feels like a turn on. And notice that and allow the imagination internally to walk more turned on, if you will. So that's sort of playing a little bit with the internal game, a little bit with what goes on within us. And the second part would be feminine energy, and to connect with the part of us that allows for receptivity, and to even be okay with pausing, because only through pausing, which is this idea of receiving. In order to receive, we have to allow ourselves to wait and allow and see what shows up and to embrace it. I think when we're always moving forward, it's harder to be in a pause and in our feminine. So the feminine is related to receptivity, to our emotions, to what's going on within us. And I think sometimes we don't allow ourselves the time to stop and feel that. So pausing in order to feel the feminine, which is the receptivity, which is the emotion, and to listen to what's going on within us. And that allows for a more desirable feel, instead of being only what the Western world really associates to results-oriented and masculine energy, ultimately, right? So I would say it's those two parts.
So, I'm sure you have a lot of women that are your clients that are very strong, independent women and that have that masculine energy, and then there's nothing wrong with that. But what would you say to them? Because I find a lot of my clients have a hard time turning it off when they're dating a really masculine man. And sometimes what I tell them is that you can butt heads with a man that's really an alpha male or really masculine, and you've got that strong independent woman syndrome. And it's not to say to change who you are, but can you give the ladies some tips on that?
Absolutely. One of the things that I find essential, especially because I am more into body language and physicality, it's using the body to transition, to shift from masculine to feminine. So, for example, I'll tell you one tip that was given to me through my dance coach. Okay, there's a story to it. Here we go. So basically, when I was competing, my dance coach at the time, I went to see him. He was an older man, easily close to 70 years old, and was watching my partner and I dancing. And we went to him because he was the one that was supposed to be the best, one of the best in the business. So he was watching us dance the rumba, which is the most sensual of all dances, specifically regarding the woman. And after he was watching me dance, probably within 20 seconds of me dancing, he basically went to the music, shut it off, and he looked at me, came right up to me, and he said, "Patty, do you love yourself?" And I said, "I think so. Why?" Well, he says, "You have a funny way of showing it because your arms are flailing from your body. So I'm doing all these lines." And he said, "And a woman that loves herself doesn't move in that manner." And he said, "Watch this." And he didn't exactly tell me specifically what he was doing, but I watched him being this 70-year-old man transform into a 70-year-old woman, sensuous, confident. And basically what he was doing was very much caressing himself before the arms go up and touching before the arms go up. He would always do this type of movement. So then I said, okay, I get it. I saw that. So anytime my arm would go out, I didn't just send it out. I would touch the outside of my body, the back of my head, around my face, and then go to him, to my partner, right? So I would play with that a lot in my movement. And I realized if I could do this in everyday life, it will allow me to remind myself that I love my arm, that I love my shoulder, that I love my neck, that I love my chin, that I love my hair. So I do this, I tell women to caress their bodies as often as possible to create this transition from being in their masculine where they have the need to motivate, control, get things done. I get it. When I'm here, I'm in my masculine. When I'm here, I soften, I melt. So using physical touch to remind yourself that you love every inch of you, and that as I'm having this conversation with you, I will soften it and melt into my feminine. So that's one example of a technique that I will share with women to practice to help them transition.
I love that story. That was so beautiful. And it was just like the perfect example. It's so true.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of them. Do you want me to give you another one? Was
Sure,
that it?
sure.
All right. Another one that I like to use is in dancing, we call this inner thigh awareness. And inner thigh awareness is used a lot because when we walk, if you look at people walk, you'll notice that especially when you're in your masculine, the stance and the walk is wider. So if you can picture these legs, right, this is a more masculine stance or walk. But then when we want to have more a feminine walk, there's this feeling of inner thigh as we take one step in front of the other. So you want to have inner thigh awareness. You want to realize your butt power and your inner thighs with every step that you take. One, it's going to slow you down. Two, it's going to create a little bit of a curve in your walk. So just have the awareness that every time I take a step, I would be aware of my inner thighs because it's inner. So when you sit, be aware of your inner thighs. When you stand, be aware of your inner thighs because it will change the way you show up. So, and again, this is a nonverbal way of just changing your energy, of creating that transition or shift so that it doesn't have to be a verbal thing, but a physical thing.
That was beautiful. That's a great tip. I've never heard anybody tell that tip. So
Oh,
that's
nice.
an inside secret.
There you go.
Well, great. Well, these have been some amazing tips. So, Patty, I know you have a free gift for the ladies. So can you tell them about it?
Yes, absolutely. The free gift is basically a self-date guide. I take women through a process of, how would you take yourself out on a date so that you become more courageous and comfortable with putting yourselves in perhaps awkward situations where you're going to be alone and you show up at a restaurant with just you and you go to the bar and you order food and you start to teach yourself to have conversations with complete strangers and put yourself in a situation where it's not always comfortable, but in practicing that, you will be more masterful, if you will, when it comes to a situation where you are with someone that you're actually attracted to. It kind of starts to flow more easily and there's less awkwardness in the conversation and in the exchange between the two of you. So it's a self-date guide.
Awesome. So, ladies, if you would like Patty's free gift, you can just click right below the video Or if you're listening to the podcast, please go to singleandstilettos.com and look for Patty Contenta's interview, and you can get our free gift too. So thanks everybody for joining us on the Single on Stiletto show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you like to view the videos, you can go to singleandstilettos.com, and if you like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. And if you would like to get our free gift, the Secrets About Men video series, you can click right here on the video, or you can go to singleandstilettos.com.